Hello, everyone. Let's get started. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm going to be talking to you about CloudLinux OS Plus product updates and new features. So let's begin. So what are some performance issues that CloudLinux OS Plus solves? Well, most important and most popular is PHP. There's a substantial number of slow plugins for popular CMSs, and suboptimal functions and slow database queries really slow down websites, not to mention external calls to slow websites. And overutilized sites mean overutilized servers. And it's typically a few users that slow down an entire server. 5 short months ago, we released CloudLinux OS Plus with 3 powerful new components: PHP X-Ray, Centralized Monitoring, and priority support from a team with a collective 450 years of Linux experience. I'll show you a bit more about these first two in a moment. PHP X-Ray functionality has the ability to detect slow plugins, slow database queries, slow functions within PHP itself, and slow external calls that you can remove or change. Centralized monitoring functionality can, of course, detect server performance, hardware performance, virtual or cloud, and application performance inside of your server. You can even find out the user's resource usage, and from that top-down view, be able to determine the slowest server and the slower users on the server of your system. I'm going to show you a quick pre-recorded demo about how PHP X-Ray works. So first off, we start in LVE, and over on the right, you'll see PHP X-Ray. Now back to our website. It is, of course, very slow. I promise you no real websites were hurt in the making of this presentation. And as it loads, you can see it's definitely PHP and definitely WordPress, but it's slow. So let's start tracing. I'm going to put in the URL with the star at the end, and we'll just leave it at 20. We can make 20 requests. So PHP X-Ray will show up down here at the bottom, and we go back to the web page to just generate some traffic, doing the same things that we saw to make the website slow. And it's still slow for sure. Back in LVE Manager, we're able to look at the report and see the most recent request ordered by the slowest. So we'll start at the top. Well, the first one looks like it's a module. The second one looks like some code. So we'll grab into WordPress Manager, and we're going to turn off this plugin for now and find a replacement. Well, that's 80% of our problem. What's the other 20%? And it looks like there's a problem on line 21 of the theme header. Okay, well, let's open up the theme and see what's going on there. So on line 21, oh yeah, it looks like it's requesting something from an outside source that is a little less than speedy. So while we find a way of caching that, we're just going to comment out these couple of functions, save our file, and let's go test it to see if it's better. And it's definitely faster. A few more clicks, and you can see things are going quite well. All right, in X-Ray, you won't see our requests because they're faster than the ones before. And you can see down at the bottom, our last 10 requests have been very speedy. So that's how you would fix a site with PHP X-Ray. Some new features we have are PHP X-Ray for end users to allow your customers to identify performance problems on their own. X-Ray automated throttling detection. I'm very excited about this feature, and I'll tell you a bit more about it later. And CloudLinux website monitoring that goes beyond up or down of which users are doing which, but which sites are performing well or which sites are performing not so well. So PHP X-Ray for end users. You probably all recognize this interface. It's a popular website owner interface, and down at the bottom, there's a new feature for PHP X-Ray. This is the same PHP X-Ray I demonstrated for you. Now your customers will be able to identify performance issues independently and not create a support ticket with their host, you. PHP X-Ray automated throttling detection. The reason why I'm so excited is at the PHP level, we can detect if a user is using too much of the LVE limits we set, and we can report them there. Showing users that are abusing resources becomes an upsell opportunity, or at the very least, keeps the rest of the system healthy and serving web pages. And lastly, with our newest of features, is CloudLinux website monitoring that can show you the performance and deliverability of the websites on your server, showing the average delivery response time and which websites are showing errors. This is available with CloudLinux OS and CloudLinux OS Plus free of charge. You can show your slowest site on your server at a glance. Here to talk about our new features coming up is our own legendary CEO and founder, Igor Slinsky. Take it away, Igor.
Hello, everyone. Let me talk a little bit about CloudLinux OS Plus and its future. When we released CloudLinux OS, we started with two key features. One was PHP X-ray that allowed you, your customers, us to see where exactly the website is slow, something that before was pretty much impossible without advanced tools like New Relic. Webmaster now can get in a single click. So we have this information now of just how slow website is and where it is, where is it slow. And we also have another key piece of CloudLinux OS Plus is server monitoring, site monitoring, where we correlate this information with just how busy was the server at that time, how busy the site was at that time, and was it because the site was throttled. It's very important to understand that these two moments are key because when you're looking at how slow the site is, it's also very important to know that it is slow because of the site and not because of the server, because of the throttling and all of that stuff. So when we released CloudLinux OS Plus, we started with these two components because in our understanding, it is the key to move forward to where we want to move forward. So where are we going forward? What are we looking into? What are we seeing when we're looking into the future? And what we want to deliver to you is the next generation, in the next generation of CloudLinux OS Plus, our smart advice. The idea behind smart advice is to use this information that we're gaining from X-ray, from logs, from server monitoring to give detailed, actionable advice to your support staff, to site owner on how to improve things. So, for example, when the site is slow, there is subset of issues that we can detect that are quite common and that we can give customer exact actionable information on what to do. For example, some plugins are just slow, bad, and should be avoided. Some create conflicts, so we can tell customer, well, this particular plugin should not be used. I mean, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's critical plugins that cannot be avoided. And that's also all right. Sometimes it's lack of indexes and we can create those indexes, or at least we can tell customer what indexes to create in the database. We can tell them what external pings their web app is doing that they can remove so that it's not slow. We can detect background plugins running and tell them that's what creates slowdown at that particular thing. And that's what we're planning to do. We want to, when we detect that the site is slow, to actually give advice on what to do. Same with many PHP and HTTP errors. A lot of those errors are cryptic to a customer and require additional digging to figure out what is it. So is it permission issue? Is it disk space issue? Is it missing htaccess issue? Is the script hitting PHP memory limit? Database issues. All those issues can be easily detected and we can figure out for the common ones and give exact advice on what needs to be done or simply correct the situation in automated fashion, significantly reducing the load on your support and making customer happier. So that's what we're doing with Smart Advice. That's our idea behind Smart Advice and something we're planning to bring in by the end of the year. Of course, it will come in small increments. We will start with the most prominent issues and the issues that we can quickly address, and then we will continue enhancing the solution to handle more and more issue in automated or semi-automated manner. Beyond that, we also recognize that, especially for WordPress, or not especially for WordPress, but for WordPress, which represents majority of websites today. Sometimes you cannot just get rid of plugins, or you cannot just say it's indexes, and that's why, I mean, we even tried, when we tried to optimize our own website, we saw how difficult it is to optimize WordPress website, even if you have technical stuff, even if you have time, etc. And most of your customers don't have technical stuff working for them. They don't have months to spend on optimizing their website. So what we wanted to do is create a simple one-click WordPress optimization tool that will solve most popular issues. So those issues that we can automatically detect with X-ray, with smart devices, we want to solve with a single click WordPress optimization. It's not just about caching. I know there is millions of those caching plugins, but configuring those plugins and making sure they work right for this site is very difficult. More than that, to get the most out of those caching plugins, you also need object caching like memcache or Redis, which is very hard to set up in a shared hosting environment. So what we're planning to do is first release WordPress optimization toolkit that will let you in one click install and configure both object caching and WordPress tuned for particular sites. And then we will also integrate into X-ray recommendation on when this optimization will help and when it will not, so that we don't constantly say, oh, just install WordPress optimization or enable WordPress optimization for the website. No, we will recommend it only in the cases when we know that it will help. And I think that's a big deal. I think it will help. We're actually trying to position WordPress optimization in a way that you can upsell it to your customers because it needs the object caching, because it will need more RAM. We believe you can get extra revenue from the customer. In some cases, not always, move them to a higher plan. And we believe that customers will be really happy, because today they would need to spend hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, to get the same level optimization, even if they can find the person who can do it for them. So that's our plan for the future. We hope it will reduce your support. We hope it will make your customers happier. And we do expect that you will be able to earn extra revenue due to that. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, it looks like we've got some questions coming in into the chat room. So we started out, we've got Miguel. He's asking a question based on what Igor was discussing. Will your single-click WordPress optimization replicate any functionalities to cPanel WordPress toolkit? Will it configure Redis for the users with proper security in terms of user authentication? And Igor came back with that we don't have any plans to replicate the WordPress toolkit, but we will configure object cache for each of the users with all of the proper permissions. Do you plan to provide CLS or CL Plus for direct admin? And we should be providing that for Plesk direct admin and cPanel. When will PHP X-Ray be available on Plesk for users? Clarification on that question from Stephen.
It should be ready. Can everyone hear me? So it should be ready by around April 8th, from my understanding. So yeah, in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Igor. Okay, so Jasper's asking, talking about utilizing CLOS Plus from a reseller perspective. And reselling, and let me make sure I'm getting your question. As a reseller, of CLOS Plus. The issue is that several of the features of CLOS Plus are available only to direct customers because of the CLN access for our CloudLinux portal. This is where you see the interface for your centralized monitoring, being able to look at all of the different servers across your infrastructure, whether you have 1 or 100 or 1,000 that you've provisioned out to. So resellers do not have access to the CLN portal. Therefore, they're only getting half of the functionality. Now, as an organization, if you are capable of and want to explain that to your customers, you can provide them CLOS Plus for their infrastructure, and they can take advantages of the PHP X-ray, the website monitoring, and those tools available to their end customers. They just won't receive the centralized monitoring aspect from the CLN portal. There's a question, can you use PHP X-ray from the command line without any control panel installed?
Yeah, in theory it's possible. I don't know if we documented it somewhere. I know you can integrate it into third-party control panel, but the majority of the outputs is done using a JSON format, and I don't know if you want to deal with all of it. So I would say mostly no. Question from Patrick, when will you support VPS for CloudLinux? Patrick, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. If you mean running VPSs on top of CloudLinux, this is not something we are planning to do, and CloudLinux inside VPS have been available forever. Question from Rory. We had a WordPress site recently hacked. iSIMS and Immunify 360 could not stop they identify all the affected files, and scans did not pick up the outgoing abuse. Would PHP X-ray help us identify the increase in the website load? That's another interesting question. I mean, yes, you will see the base load changing, but no, it's not meant for those things, and I don't think it will show up the way you want to for it to show up. I do think that, well, it's unfortunate that we didn't catch it. I hope you submitted the ticket to our support team so we can improve our scanner, and our support team should have cleaned up all the files for you and resolve it. So I would be much more interested to resolve it from a Immunify 360 perspective than using PHP X-ray. Another question from Roberta. What is the expected release date for the WordPress optimization suite? We're hoping to have it either by the end of Q2 or middle of Q3. We're still running a lot of experiments. We want to deliver something that significantly outperforms what people can get today with most caching plugins. Why don't you integrate more heavily with Lightspeed, as they offer LS cache and plenty of plugins for WordPress? Also, why isn't there a self-diagnostic plugin for WordPress? I can speak if needed. So first of all, we do integrate heavily with Lightspeed. We just don't want to, at least for WordPress optimization suite, we don't want to rely on LS cache, because we believe that we need to have more control to truly optimize WordPress beyond what's available. But otherwise, we do integrate with Lightspeed. We constantly talk to them and continue integrating more and more each day. Why isn't there a self-diagnostic plugin for WordPress? Oh, it's a good question. We started with X-ray. It takes time to add more and more diagnostics, but it's something we are planning to do, to add more diagnostics using smart devices. And it's part of the issue. It's not enough to just tell people what's wrong. You also have to tell them what to do about it. Another question from Dean. So about object caching, do you plan to add Redis cache instance for users with the ability to clear cache? So I'm not going to say which exact object store cache we will be using because we're still evaluating multiple options and we have to check from multiple perspectives, the performance, the memory overhead, the CPU overhead, IO overhead. We want to understand all those things, but it is correct to think that we will provide each end user with their separate object cache that they will be able to clean up. That actually has a side effect that the users will be using more RAM, and as a result, you should be charging them more for that. Question from Nelly, I host Moodle. Any news on how to optimize Moodle and speed up its performance? One of my Moodle sites is huge. To be honest, we haven't looked at Moodle yet, so I cannot comment on that. Would like to ask about the Modified 360 if it's okay. Any plans to add mail in malware scanning? So we have plans to start doing anti-spam under Modify umbrella. We're at very early stages, and I don't think we will have anything for the next 6 to 12 months. One thing about mail scanning is that mail scanning for viruses, we would be looking for a very different type of malware than we're looking on websites. We would be looking for malware that affects Windows users. We would be looking for malware that affect Android, iPhone, or Mac users. We would not be looking for web malware. And our scanner today is the best malware scanner for web malware. So we need to change what we detect. We need to change the set of our signatures. It is in the plans. It's something we will address, but today we are not planning to scan malware with our anti-web malware scanner. Question from Juan. I'm new to CL Plus. Do I need to buy one CL and one CL Plus license per server, or just the CL Plus? So CL Plus includes CL and extra components. So you can think about CloudLinux Plus as CloudLinux on steroids. So if you already have CloudLinux, you need to upgrade your license to CloudLinux Plus. If you don't have any, just buy CloudLinux Plus, but it's just one license. So you don't need both licenses.
Nginx as caching engine is coming around in cPanel and is about to be released in cPanel 96. Will that be an issue with CloudLinux WordPress optimization?
I believe not. So there is two things. There is a caching of static content, and then there is a caching of PHP subsegments. So my understanding of what cPanel is doing with Nginx caching is static content. So instead of it being served by Apache, it will actually be served by Nginx, which significantly increases the throughput. And of course, this object cache part, which I also consider quite important, at least in our tests, it shows a significant additional increase in performance. So we will see what they actually come out with. It's very interesting for us to see, but we will integrate with whatever they're doing to make sure that they play nicely.
Okay, then the next question, will PHP X-Ray work also in a reverse, in a server with reverse proxy Nginx and Ngitron?
Yes, definitely. So it's similar to previous question. All those reverse proxy caches, they are caching static content, and we're mostly interested in optimizing caching of PHP generating code that generates that static content. So that there is less of PHP execution that takes majority of the time.
And then we've got a duplicate question coming in from one, but we'll make sure that we get it answered here. So for X-Ray, do I need to use CloudLinux hardened PHP, or is it available with regular EA PHP? And it's available with both.
It's available with. Okay.
Okay, then we've got Miguel. Another question. We've seen many issues with thousands of LVMs in the same server. We're talking for perfectly capable servers here. Even level 3 techs struggle with our tickets, and you had to release patches. Where the hybrid is currently broken. It ruins the memory usage of the LVMs. What are your plans for hybrid kernels?
We're still working on hybrid kernel. I don't know what's broken. I mean, it really depends on your setup, and I cannot comment on it, but we do know about few issues with some of the people who are running 5,000 plus sites on the server. It's work in progress. Hopefully it will be better.
Okay, Patrick's coming back. He's got a question, and he's specifically asking if he can run CloudLinux Plus on Virtuoso. Now, we know that it's not going to work well inside of a container, but how about the virtual machine, the KVM virtual machine?
It works just fine inside Virtuoso virtual machines.
Yeah, Patrick, the reason it doesn't work inside of a container is the container is a shared operating system which shares the resources and the kernel of the master server, the root of the server. So it's not updating to a CloudLinux kernel. It's still a Virtuoso kernel. Let's see, we've got another Patrick here. Will X-Ray become also available for other CMSs like Joomla or Drupal?
For now, we have no plans, given how much work, how much more work we need to do to get to do the WordPress right, and given that WordPress represents about 60 to 70% of the sites for our customer base, we will continue working on WordPress for at least 2021. Beyond that, we will see just how much more work it will require to port it to other CMSs and if it's worth it.
Great. Now, would it be possible to integrate PHP X-Ray with a custom hosting management software?
Yes, so it's actually quite easy to integrate all CloudLinux OS components. We have the integration guide, it virtually several config files, and a few scripts that you have to do that deal with, okay, if that's the user, where is his home directory, where is his web directory, stuff like that. And after that, it will be part of your own custom hosting software. We have several companies who done it already. We had third-party control panels who integrated. It's well-tested part, so you should be able to do it.
Okay, Igor, Dean's coming back with another question here. He's thinking on the cost side. Will WordPress optimization suite be included in the CLOS Plus?
Yes, it will be.
Or is it going to be an add-on above CLOS Plus?
No, it's going to be part of CloudLinux OS Plus.
There you go, Dean. So you're more, as Igor was saying earlier, more opportunity for you to generate additional revenue, more upsell capabilities. We've got another question. Are you considering changing graphical presentations of web statistics by time and date, or add new ways of monitoring and analyzing the usage?
That's an interesting question. We haven't heard any requests, and we wouldn't, at least at this moment, I don't understand what we would try to achieve, but I would love to hear your feedback of what we can do better, then we can decide.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Igor, for answering questions here. I think that's all the questions we've had today. So I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in for our webinar about CLOS Plus and the new features and products we're adding. Thank you all, and this recording will be available on YouTube in a few days. Have a good day.